Least common multiple is another way that two numbers can be related. And in this case, it's going to be the smallest number that the two numbers are a factor of. So, smallest number created when both numbers are a factor. So just like with greatest common factor, there's going to be more than one way that we can find the least common multiple, so I'm going to show you some of those now. So multiples just means that you are going to make a list of all the multiples until you find one that they have in common. So for example, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48. So hopefully we've gone far enough that we'll be able to find something that they have in common. For 10, we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on. So I could have stopped as soon as I saw the one that they had in common, but if you don't recognize it, then it might take a little bit to find it. So now we're going to go back and we are going to cross them off until we find the one that they have in common. So basically you go back and forth between what has the smallest number. So I've got a 6, there's no match. I've got a 10, there's no match. So I've got a 12 and an 18 and then a 20 and then a 24. And then when I get to 30, I have found my least common multiple. This is the first one that is a multiple of each of those numbers that is going to be the same. So that's how we make a list of the multiples to find the answer. If we did the same thing, if we have a multiplication chart, which is a good way for students to find it because they may not know their math facts as well yet, then we would do the same thing where we are going to look at the 6 line and we are going to look at the 10 line, and we're just going to do the same process. So here, 6 isn't in common, 10 isn't in common, 12 isn't in common, 18 isn't in common. So again, I just keep crossing off the smallest number until I get to the one that they have in common. So with this one, they don't have to have the list, but they do have to have a multiplication table, and it does have to go up high enough to find the numbers. So for smaller numbers, this is a good way to do it, especially if they're trying to find the least common multiple for a common denominator. The second way that we can find the least common multiple is with prime factorization. So just like we did in greatest common factor, we're going to break this down to its prime factors. So I've got 4 times 3, which breaks down to 2 times 2. So here I have 2, 2, and 3. And then 20 breaks down into 4 and 5, so 2 and 2. So its prime factorization is 2 times 2 times 5. So how we find the least common multiple is that we count any that are in common as one number. So this 2 and this 2 match, this 2 and this 2 match, this 3 doesn't have a match, so it's going to come up here, and this 5 doesn't have a match, so it's going to come up here. So now we would just multiply these all together, and that's going to give us the smallest number that both of these would give us. So if we go ahead and multiply, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 times 5 is 60. So the smallest number that each of these would go into, or that would be the smallest number that both would be a factor of, would be the number 60. So that is how we're going to find the least common multiple. Again, choose the method that works best for you. Just know that it's always good to know more than one method because sometimes one method isn't the best choice.